You know, one day under Mary Johnson, Roy, Linda Baker's games, I thought that they made my son say that Shayla died just to see how I would react. And I thought that under Linda Baker and Mary, my son was now being controlled through the police, through Bobby Joe Champion. Do you understand that? So now I worry about my son every day. I worry that under that juvenile diversion lie where I said that my mother was helping me, right? My mother was an EA. She worked at Bethune when I was in kindergarten, first grade. So I knew my mom was an EA. And when I called Dan Stewart and I said, Dan Stewart, they did this illegal settlement with me. How do I get cash from my settlement? Dan said that they didn't bargain you cash, Sharon. They bargained you student funds. He said you have to spend them on Michael in school. So what I did was, again, I started spending them on Michael in school, didn't I? I, again, got a homeschool label. I tested my son. I paid $180 and sent for the MCA test that they were refusing to do at Harrison because under Harrison, he was under a non-graduating standard, right? That meant that he didn't have to make credit. He didn't have to make grade. That meant that for me, my son didn't need to be educated, and I was suing them to make him be educated, right? Because he was educated in the 8th grade. He had MCA tests he took in the 8th grade that he passed. And in the 9th grade, he was supposed to take them again. And they refused to give him them tests. Why? Because under Cindy Adsat's interim 365 minutes a day IEP, they decided they didn't have to educate Michael. Correct? Jackie Baker? Huh? Kim Ellison, and as we went through that 8th grade IEP, and he was on that 45-day placement, Krisha, I went to Vegas, didn't I, Krisha, where your mother kept my kids? And as your mother kept my kids and I was in Vegas, was Michael Cooper Sr. sleeping with Dayer Baker? Was Michael Cooper Sr. running around with Dayer Baker acting like, again, I was a side piece as Dayer Baker, her mama, was having this, love affair. For some odd reason, the first person you slept with, that just started standing out, right? Because they were trying to say, Lee Craven, that DNA's left in a woman, and that woman is tied to the very first person she slept with. So they kept trying to figure out who my DNA was tied to, right? That's ludicrous and it's crazy talk, right? But again, Lee Craven, did they have you show up, speak to me like we were going to make up, be buddy-buddy? I never slept with you. I didn't like you. I couldn't stand you after Tanya, right? Again, I was so glad I didn't give my virginity to you. I was fucking ecstatic, right? And I don't like you, do I, Lee Craven? I don't even fuck with Tanya. But again, under the Lord, I was supposed to forgive them and forget. So I did. And then as Bobby wanted me to relive, as Keith wanted me to relive, I no longer speak to Tim Croker. I can't stand Tyrone Thorpe. And be clear, Army, Navy, Air Force, and that Marine, if I had his name and address, I would sue him. I'd put him on the stand. Why? Because my cousin got kicked out of the services because she didn't want to pay child support. He should have been kicked out for raping me, Missy, at cosmetology, Pat Baker, hook up with the Marine, Bobby, as Pat went and got VFW money, right? So I said, in my older years, looking back under psychology, hindsight said Pat Baker was working with somebody out of the VFW she was turning tricks with. Maybe their sons was Bobby and Keith. Maybe those sons was now tampering with my life as I lived with Pat Baker, correct? Huh? That's what I said, Bobby, Keith, Don. Games, right?